I didn't plan to say this out loud. I thought I'd forget, but it stayed with me. Each night. Like a knock that didn't stop. Nothing violent happened. Not exactly. Still, I think it mattered that I trusted what I felt. This was in February. I had just come back to Asheville. I had visited my parents in Charlotte. The bus dropped me off downtown. It was 7:30. Already dark. That kind of cold where your breath floats in front of you like fog. I had one small suitcase. One backpack. I opened the app. The driver was Eric in a silver Camry. 5 minutes later, it pulled up. The plate matched. He looked younger than the photo. Mid-20s. Worn leather jacket. Hoodie. His window down just a little. He nodded. No smile. No music. I didn't think much of that. I just wanted to get home. The route should have taken 12 minutes. But we hit the first red light. And stopped. And didn't move. The light turned green. Still nothing. I said, "The light." He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He stared straight ahead. Hands clenched around the wheel like something had locked inside him. The light changed again. Still nothing. I asked, "Are you okay?" He turned. Slowly. His eyes didn't look right. Like they weren't attached to a thought. Like he didn't recognize anything. Then he smiled. Too wide. He said, "Do you believe in fate?" I said nothing. He turned back and hit the gas. Hard. Not toward my apartment. I shouted, "This isn't Bowcatcher," he said. "Shortcut." "Just trust me." I tried the door. Locked. I pulled. Harder. I asked him again, "Let me out." No answer. He drove faster. We passed places I didn't know. My phone had no signal. I checked. Again. Nothing. I saw trees. Just trees. Just road. No signs. No lights. Then I remembered something. Something from a blog post. About a fake breakdown. About faking sickness. So I held my stomach. I made a sound. I said, "I think I'm gonna be sick. You need to stop. I'm serious." He didn't move. So I gagged. I pushed my fingers to my mouth. I made it loud. I made it look real. He cursed. He hit the brakes. "Get out then." The locks clicked. I jumped out. I grabbed my bag. I stepped onto the shoulder. No houses. No signs. Just road and woods. I walked. Not fast. Just steady. Then I hid. Behind a tree. I waited. No sound. I looked again. He was still there. The car was idling. Then the lights turned off. He stayed. I didn't move. I waited. My heart was so loud I thought it would give me away. A new car passed. I ran out. Waved my arms. It was a family. Locals. They let me in. They drove me to a gas station. They waited with me until my roommate arrived. The next day I told Uber. They said no driver named Eric had taken my ride. The trip had been cancelled 3 minutes after I booked it. Whoever picked me up never showed on the app. It was a real car, but not a real ride. That night we checked our camera. At 2 a.m. a silver Camry drove past our place. It stopped. He leaned out the window. He looked up at the building. He stared for almost 2 minutes. Then he drove away. Last fall near Oak Ridge, Oregon. I drove east on Route 58 at night. The road twisted through thick woods. Tall trees stood on both sides. No cars, no lights. Only silence and shadows. The moon was out, but its light was weak. My headlights lit the road just enough. I kept steady at 40 when I saw a shape by the road. I tapped the brakes. Maybe a deer. They were everywhere here, but as I got closer, it did not move. It stood still like a statue. Then, in a blink, it was gone. I watched the trees but saw nothing move. I tried to forget it. I had been driving a long time. My eyes were tired. Maybe my mind was playing tricks. I turned up the radio. Minutes later, I went around a bend and saw something in the road. At first, I thought it was a branch. Then I saw the truth. Bone. A pile of them. Ribs. Leg bones. Broken and like something had been torn apart. I slowed. My heart pounded. Then I saw marks. Something had pulled the mess away. But there was something worse. I saw you. The words were written ahead. Fresh. Wet. Glowing in my lights. My hands froze. Fear gripped. I reached for my phone. No signal. No help. Just me. I kept driving. Slower now. Every shadow seemed to move. Every tree seemed to watch. I kept thinking about the shape I saw before. Had it been waiting, watching? I saw a small red shoe in the road and sped 40 miles to the nearest gas station. The clerk warned me never to drive that road. When I was 16, my mom and I moved to a small town called Fork Ridge in Washington state. It was a quiet town with little around. There was one gas station and a diner that closed by 6. Tall trees filled the town and the roads. My favorite place was the cedar path. It was a simple walking trail through the woods. The path felt calm and safe. When the weather was good, I would bring our dog Harlow and go there after school. One October evening, I went to the trail at 5. The sky turned a mix of orange and blue, and the air smelled like rain. I did not plan to stay long. I only meant to let Harlow run. Halfway along the trail, I saw a man behind us. He stood far back by the path. There was something about him that made me pause. He did not have a dog or a bag. He just stood there and looked. I kept walking and told myself it was nothing. When I took a shortcut through the ferns, I looked back and saw that he had followed. He was still at a distance and still watching. I clipped Harlow's leash and picked up the pace. 5 minutes from the parking lot, the trees grew close. When I looked again, the man was nearer. He was not running. He walked slowly with his head low and his arms loose. His coat looked wet, even though it had not rained. I took out my phone, but there was no signal. Harlow sensed fear. His ears lay flat, and his tail stayed low as he kept glancing behind. Finally, we reached the lot as the light dimmed. One car appeared. Not mine and not my mom's. A dark blue Jeep sat alone, with no one inside. I sat on a bench and pulled my hoodie tight. I called my mom, but only heard a message. Then I heard gravel beneath feet. The man stepped from the trees slowly toward the Jeep. He opened his door and climbed in. The car did not move or show any light. It just sat there. Harlow whimpered and pawed at the ground near me. The Jeep stayed about 20 feet away. Then the engine roared and bright lights flashed on. The Jeep stayed put and idled. Soon my mom's car came into the lot. As her headlights shone, the Jeep reversed, turned, and drove off into the dark woods. My mom lowered the window and said, "Sorry, kiddo, I lost track of time." I said nothing and got in the car. As we drove away, I looked back. The Jeep was gone, but I could see someone standing past the trees, watching. Last October, my father, my stepmom and I went on a trip in the Smoky Mountains. I was 17. We stayed in small towns and campgrounds. When it rained for 2 days, we drove to an old hotel near Gatlinburg in Tennessee called Sterling Pines Inn. The hotel had 6 floors and looked very thin, as if it had been squeezed. Its red brick looked tired, and the paint was falling off near the windows. In the lobby, the air smelled of old mold and burnt coffee. The clerk did not look up when we came in. I remember the dark green carpet with odd orange spots that made me think of pine cone. The hallways were small and dark, with old wall lamps that creaked. They reminded me of a big ship that felt tight and quiet. My parents had a room on the 5th floor, and I stayed in room 604 above them. That night, my parents went to a diner. I stayed in my room and ate some leftover Halloween candy while I looked at my phone. The room felt very old, with plain brown walls and a loud heater that rattled. There was a clock on the wall and a rocking chair by the window with a flower cushion that did not match the rest. Around 11 at night, I went to get a soda. When I came back, I saw that the light outside room 604 was flickering and very weak. I also noticed a dark spot on the carpet near my door that I had not seen before. As I came closer, I felt a strong fear, as if someone was right behind me. I quickly turned to look, but saw no one. I ran back inside and locked the door. I even pushed a chair in front of the door handle to feel safe. The heater made clanging sounds all night. I tried to sleep, but around 1:30, I heard a slow sound in the hall. It sounded like something heavy being dragged with soft stops and starts. My heart beat fast when the desk phone lit up with a red light and began to ring in a sharp tone. I picked it up, but no one spoke. I only heard deep, heavy breathing that did not sound calm. I slammed the phone down. A few minutes later, it rang again, with the same slow breathing sound. I pulled the phone from the wall and the cord broke. I threw it onto the carpet, but it kept ringing and flashing. Then I saw the rocking chair move on its own. It rocked slowly back and forth. There was no wind, and no one was there. I grabbed my bag and to the door, but it would not open. The knob would not turn, no matter how hard I pushed. I knocked, but got no answer. I looked through the small window and saw a shape in the hall. A man, or something like a man, sat in a chair near my door. His head was thrown back, and his mouth was wide open. His eyes were gone, leaving only dark, empty holes. He rocked like the chair, and I stepped back. The phone on the floor began ringing even faster and louder. Soon, all the lights went out. I curled up in bed and covered my ears while I whispered to myself until I fell asleep. When I woke, it was morning. The phone was gone, the rocking chair faced the wall, and the hall was empty. I told my father I wanted to leave, and we checked out soon after. Before we left, I asked the clerk if anyone had stayed on the 6th floor that night. He looked at me and said the 6th floor had been closed for years because of building problems, and no one stayed there. I nodded and left. I have not seen Sterling Pines Inn again, but sometimes I dream of that chair slowly moving under a dark window, and the phone ringing deep in the walls.